This time I invited Mrs. King to help me with the lesson, so hopefully it won't be quite as boring as it was before. This lesson is on statistical questions, so go ahead and fill out the top of your notes page. We have a new learning target, 6SP1, recognizing what a statistical question is. And then our goal today is to be able to identify and explain why a question is a statistical question. So go ahead and get that filled into your notes, and then we'll get ready for the next part. There you go. All right, so let's fill in a couple of definitions. The first is, what is a statistical question? A statistical question is one that can be answered by collecting data, but that the data will vary, meaning you're going to get a variety of different answers. There are two requirements for being a statistical question. The first is something called variability. It's how many different responses your question could have. So we want something that's going to give us more than just one or two possible answers. A good question has somewhere in between 3 and 10 good answers.
For example, you do not want a yes or no question, or a true or false question, or something that's like, what is your favorite number? That's going to give you a million different answers. You want to avoid questions that have limited variability.
Okay, so that's the first requirement. The second requirement is the population. Who are you addressing the question to? You want to be specific about who you're asking. You don't want to just say, who is your favorite musician, or what is your favorite color? Because then we don't know who you're referring to. You want to be specific.
Examples for you guys might be the 6th graders at Trauber Junior High, or middle school students in Oswego, or 13U baseball team in Oswego. Something very specific that a reasonable amount of kids could vote on. Backwards, new page.
Keep going.
All right.
All right, so we're going to go through these first 4 examples with you. Notice the instructions up top. We're going to decide if it's a statistical question, but you need to explain your reasoning. So refer to those 2 requirements. Which one does it not, or which requirement does it meet? So our first one was, who was the first president of the United States? Well, if you think about this question, there's really only one correct answer for it. You could have a lot of wrong answers, but there's really only one correct answer. So this fails the variability. It doesn't have more than one possible answer.
No.
Okay, so we would say not a statistical question. Okay, Mrs. King is going to try her best to write it out. Just ignore her. Okay, but tell us why it's not a statistical question. That should be in your explanation, because it doesn't have any variability. It also doesn't tell us who's asking the question to. So it pretty much fails on both accounts.
Okay. 0 population. All right, what is the favorite kind of music for 6th graders at Trauber? This one is actually a pretty good question. Your population is right here, 6th graders at Trauber. So the population is specific, and it has a reasonable amount of answers. What is the favorite kind of music? Has limited choices. So it is a statistical question because it meets variability and population.
So make sure you've written that down as your explanation for us. For our next one, how many students are in 6th grade at Trauber? So this one's good in that it specifies what our population is, 6th graders at Trauber. But if you think about it, there's really only one answer. It's just, you ask the office how many people are in 6th grade, and it's a single answer. You can get a lot of wrong answers, but in this case, there's just one right answer. So there's no variability in this question. So we would say it's not a statistical question. Mrs. King's kind of slow at writing.
Oh my gosh, this is... How much time do the students in my school spend on the internet each night? So we need to ask ourselves, do we have a population in this question? Well, students in my school is pretty limited to the school that you attend. So the population is in this question. Then we have to go to variability. How much time? Well, they give you a time frame each night. So the time frame narrows down the choices that you could have for your variability. So this would qualify as a statistical question. You would be able to graph the answers depending on how many votes you gathered for this question.
So someone could answer something as little as 0 minutes or 0 hours. Somebody might answer 4 or 5 hours, but it's a reasonable amount of possibilities. There's not too many and not too few answers that they could give us.
Okay, if you filled out that question, we're ready to do the next 3 on our own. So we're going to pause the video right now and give you a few seconds to fill in these 3 questions, asking yourself, does it meet population and variability to make it a statistical question?
When you're ready, hit play and then see if your answers compare with ours.
I'm not going to read again. Okay.
All right, so what is the height of the tallest water slide at Wild Rides Water Park? Hopefully this one was a pretty easy one. Hopefully you said, no, this is not a statistical question because it just wants a single answer. If I were to look up information about Wild Rides Water Park, it would tell me the height of the tallest water slide and I'd be done with just one answer. There's not any variability there.
Couldn't I use raging waves down the road?
Sure.
Okay. How many toppings do you like on your pizza? I don't know if you answer this question right because you see the toppings and you think, well, that's a limited amount on a pizza, but you're missing one part of the question. It has variability, but it has no population. So no, it has variability is there, but very broad audience.
Just has that generic you. So you're not sure, is it the kids in my class, the kids in my school, the kids in the entire world, kids in my living room? So it doesn't specify the population for us.
Question 3, what are my favorite colors of my family members? This question is actually a yes. It's a statistical question. You could go around your living room and ask each family member for what their favorite color is. You would get answers like red, green, blue. So it has population, family members, and it has variability because there's only a certain amount of colors. So those should be your answers in your notes.
All right, last 2 questions at the bottom. That's yours to finish for tonight. So read each one of the scenarios. So the first one is, suppose you want to determine the number of video games each of your classmates has at home. You come up with a statistical question. What question could you ask to your classmates that would help you gather that data, and how is it phrased correctly to be a statistical question? So don't say, how many video games do you have? Because then we don't know who you're referring to. Be specific, like some of the examples here in the video. We'll go over these 2 together when we start class tomorrow.
Hold on, I'm still reading.
All right. Mrs. King likes to slow things down a little bit.
Whatever, it's my first time.
Pick up your pen.
I didn't think that was bad.